Hi, I'm Steve Morgan, founder of Cybersecurity Ventures and editor-in-chief at Cybercrime magazine. I'm here today with Hieu, a Vietnamese hacker and identity thief. Wikipedia states he was convicted in the United States of stealing hundreds of thousands of persons' personally identifiable information, and in 2015, when he was 25 years old, sentenced to 13 years in U.S. federal prison. Hieu was released after 4 years. Now 31, he calls himself a freelance cybersecurity specialist, as well as a convicted hacker and former cybercriminal on LinkedIn. Welcome, Hieu. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me to this show.
So, Hieu, I want to go back in time, but before we do that, I just want to start off here with a question. Some media have likened you to Frank Abagnale, who was played by Leonardo DiCaprio in the 2002 film Catch Me If You Can. Tell us how you see yourself now before we go back.
Yes, a lot of people told me about that movie, and I already watched that movie, and kind of like myself is into that situation as well. I was a bad guy, and now I turned to become a white hacker, try to help others people by raising cybersecurity awareness, especially in Vietnam, and that's what I am doing right now.
So, Hieu, back in 2015, you were just a kid. You were 25 years old and you were sentenced to 13 years in federal prison. Before I ask you about the events that led up to that, what was running through your mind when you first heard that sentence?
It's just kind of like the whole world is it just got cracked down, and I feel like my life is over. The game I was playing is come to the end, and it's game over. And I was struggling so much and so stressful time technically. At some point I was trying to hang myself, sometime to think that it's over, just try to get it over with. But then I was thinking about my loved ones in Vietnam and all the people who care for me. Then I have to try again. I have to be better. That's the only choice.
Well, your life took a turn for the positive, and we'll get to that. Before we do, take us back for people who may not be familiar with you, or maybe they've just read things in the media, but they don't completely understand. What actually happened that led to your conviction and sentencing in 2015?
I feel ashamed to talk about this because I know I have hurt and harmed so many people's lives in America by stealing their identities, like social security number, date of birth, driver license, and bank account and credit cards. Those people got their identity stolen by me, and I believe they are still struggling to try to fix their credit score and on the things that they have to go through. I feel very bad about that though. And where I remember around July 2015, I was about to get sentenced. So the court told me that they received a lot of letters from the victims. There are like over like 13 letters. I believe could be more than that. And because I know that a lot of identities it got sold by me to others malicious actors. And they use those identities for many things like tax returns, sign up for bank account, credit cards. And that's why when the judge from the federal court, he told me that the damage that I brought to American people is so big, and I have to get a lengthy sentence that it could be up to like 45 years in prisons. But then eventually the prosecutor he gave the judge with a sentence recommendation for like 15 years in prisons. That equal to 156 months in prisons. Then I try to work myself day by day, try to fix my mistake and try to rehabilitate myself in prisons during my sentence time.
Now, we read about a lot of these hacks and data breaches, cyber attacks in the media. There are things on Wikipedia. I just want to get a sense of how accurate these figures are. According to Wikipedia, you operated this massive scheme that ultimately affected 200 million US citizens. Is the number accurate? Was it that many people?
Yes, I was reaching into US database like a US data broker. It's called like a code venture. And then later on it got bought by Experian. Then technically I control like that much of that database. But the problem is it's so much information, and during my 2 years of criminal activity, I can only sell like more than 3 million identities.
So, what was your motivation when you first got started, and then as you started to build this scheme and accumulated however much money you made? I read one account that you made $2 million from falsified tax returns. What was motivating you? Why did you do what you did?
At that time, I was too young and too dumb. I lack of knowledge and I lack of many other things. I was growing up in a family that my parents, they are very busy with their job, and they let me to decide like almost anything. And when I grow up, I was living like almost by myself in Ho Chi Minh City when I was in high school. Then day and night, I just try to hack and steal database and steal information. At first, it's just for fun, but then I see the easy money come because at that time, my mind just tell me that this information is just numbers, it's just numbers and letters. I don't see anything like further, like then I just sell it for like $1, $1 US. Technically, I never filed for any tax returns or do any kind something like that. To be honest, I just sell to other cyber criminals, and whatever they do it, I don't really care about that because the easy money is just like I don't have to do anything because I have like almost 200 million US identity, so I can sell it like forever, and I just sell it for a little bit of money, sometimes like 50 cents, um, up to like $1. That's how I make money, and then to live a lavish lifestyle at such a young age, I feel like sometimes I feel like I was on top of the world, and the easy money it just blind my eyes and my mind. So I just kept going, chasing the money until I got locked up and being in prison. It taught me great lessons.
So, tell us about the lavish lifestyle. What were you doing with the money? How were you living? And I'm also curious, being in your early 20s, being someone who people had to worry about online, even though they didn't know you, were you the type of person that people would worry about in person? Were you somebody who would ever harm anybody physically or rob somebody or do things in person?
I feel back in the day, I was living like a double life. In daytime, I was living like a normal guy, but at nighttime, I was living as a bad guy. And my lavish lifestyle, I make up a story like, I was grown up in a wealthy family. and my dad he got a car factory and hotels and this and that. So the people they start to believe that I owe a lot of cars, luxury cars, and luxury stuff. Travel around the world, like always been to like 5-star hotels and business class. I mean, nothing too crowd up right now. It's just such a shame to use the money to spend on that stuff. It's so dumb there. And it just keep going like that, you know. I love money. Back in the day, I was loving money and material stuff.
What about when you were younger? When you were a teenager, I read that when you were in your late teens, you had traveled to New Zealand to study English at a university. And by that time, you were already operating some dark web hacker forums. Is that true? And how did you get your first exposure to the dark web?
I got exposed to the dark web around when I was like 14 years old. Yeah, 14 or 15 years old. At that time, it's a summertime, around when I was like 15 years old. Then I went to a coffee shop, internet coffee in Vietnam. At that time, I was so curious about the internet and I tried to learn how to develop a website or a little software. Then I do a lot of research by myself to Google and Yahoo search back in the day. Eventually, I met this guy. He showed me the dark web and all the hacking and coding. So I started to look into it and I got hooked by that because behind the internet there is some underground forums, underground people that I can be able to communicate and learn from them and also share my knowledge about computer. So my dad he sent me to school to learn about web development and he also sent me to a computer science school when I searched a little young boy and I learned a lot about that. But then, you know, I still so curious about the dark web and underground forums. Then I just day and night I just spend lots of time on these forums and I start to be administrator of those forums to share my knowledge and to share my experience with others and also learn from one another. So at first I just start to hack for fun, just try to deface or try to put my logo on those websites that I hack into, and I steal information like credit cards, bank accounts, and then I share for free to those people, and never think about money or whatever. But then things getting more serious late after, like around like when I got into high school.
So it sounds like your dad really wanted to help and was trying to set you in the right direction. Tell us about your dad. Do you still have a relationship with him now? Was he disappointed over all of this?
Mm, yes, kind of. He was so upset and he was so depressed when I got locked up, and it was so stressful. One of the things that I will spend all my life to regret about this because of me that my dad he got so stressed and he started to get drunk and he didn't have a healthy life. Then he eventually around like 2015, then he got cancer. He got stage 4 cancer. But then I started to get better in prison, try to rehabilitate myself, and then I show him my actions, show him what I have changed. Then he started to thinking more positive. And now when I got home, I got a job as a Vietnamese government agencies as a cybersecurity researcher for National Cybersecurity Center in Vietnam, and been helping a lot of people raising cybersecurity awareness. So he kind of like getting better and living a healthy lifestyle. So I'm kind of like happy right now. We always have some good communication and very good relationship right now.
Good. Well, I'm glad to hear that he's alive and that he's doing well.
Yeah. When I go home, I tell him we just try to live one day right now, one day at a time. I don't know what's going on tomorrow, what happened to him, but I try to spend a lot of time with him. And technically, right now at this moment, I am living the same house with him and my mom, and I've been looking out for my parents.
So let's turn to the positive now. So I appreciate you opening up, and I know it's not easy to talk about this, but the stories changes and it moves in a completely different direction. You cooperate with the authorities, and ultimately you were released from prison after, was it 4 or 5 years? How long did you actually spend in prison?
Technically, I got released like almost 7 years earlier. I got released around December 2019. But then the COVID is starting to hit the whole world, the pandemic. Then I got stuck in immigration for another 8 months. So technically, I got released from immigration around August 2020. And I do cooperate with U.S. government and try to give my support and anything that I know about the dark web, about my experience. And most of the time I just share my story when I go to the court. Anything I know about during my cyber criminals, I was willing to share with them everything about that.
And did you lose all of your money, your personal money? Was it seized? The money that you stole when you were doing what you were doing, hacking?
At one point, I was trying to give back all the money that I earned during my cyber criminal activities. But then the U.S. prosecutor, he say it doesn't mean much, and the U.S. government they not really need this money, so they just want me to help them, to support them.
So you still have money from your hacking days.
No, yeah, it kind of a little bit, and most of the money it went to the pocket of the lawyer.
Right.
The lawyer eat up a lot of money from me.
So I read a story in the Nikkei media, Asian media, and it describes you as going on sort of a world tour to apologize, which is admirable. You're doing that with us here. And I know you've talked to other media properties. We don't often see that. What motivated you to be willing to come on with us and with these other media properties and talk about this and apologize publicly?
Yeah, because I feel like I owe American people so much, even until now. I don't think can spend the rest of my life and try to give back to the society with whatever I can. But I just try. If I have an opportunity or a chance to do this, I want to say many, 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 many sorries every time I can to American people.
So now, today, you work as a cybersecurity specialist. You're a freelancer. What types of projects do you work on exactly? What services do you provide?
I am working at cybersecurity specialist at National Cybersecurity Center in Vietnam, and also I am a co-founder at a non-profit in English like Scam Fighter in Vietnamese. So this project I try to raise cybersecurity awareness to Vietnamese people, and recently I was supporting with Facebook or Meta company right now to raise cybersecurity awareness in Vietnam as well. And also with my projects, I also do like threat hunting, try to stop those malicious actors online who try to target people stealing their identities or credit cards or online credentials. And until now, I already stopped at least like almost 6,000 malicious domains try to phishing or scam the people.
So you've worn a black hat, now you wear a white hat. Which one is more exciting? Do you enjoy what you're doing now as much as the thrill of what you had done previously?
To be honest, to be a white hat is a lot better. I feel more confident. I don't have to look behind my back and I can sleep better. I don't have to think about try to lie or try to scam other whatever. But to be a white hat is more fun though, because sometimes I have to act like a cyber criminal to talk with another cyber criminal to try to understand them and try to fix them, try to check down them technically.
Right, right. So I'm curious, are there any similarities to people who maybe drank too much or were alcoholics and then were tempted to go back to pick up a drink again, or anyone with any type of addiction or past? Is there anything that tempts you? Do you ever think about potentially hacking? You know, you've got this special skill set and you know the type of money that you could get away with. Is it something that ever enters your mind?
It could be like kind like an addiction. That's one of the reasons that I attended to one of they call like therapeutic community group when I was in prison. I remember at that time when I was in New Hampshire, Dover, New Hampshire, and I was in that group. It called like kind of like for the people with have like addiction to alcohol and or to drugs. Then I feel like I got so many additional like money and hacking. Sometimes I have like malicious thinking because the excitement when I have crack inside a system or a server to steal identities or their database. It kind of like a successful feeling, you know, kind of you feel like amazing feeling though. Then I just keep going like that day and night, try to look for vulnerabilities of those websites and sometimes try to social engineer the people to steal their identities or whatever. You feel like you accomplished something and you just want to keep going to get that kind of high, you know?
I really appreciate you coming on with us today, Hugh. And before I let you go, I'm going to give you an opportunity here to do some good since you are doing that and trying to do more of it. So leave a message, if you can, for our listeners about protecting themselves. I've read some articles you've written or where you've been quoted talking about things like turning on multi-factor authentication and why that's important. Anything you can share with our audience about how to keep themselves safe online?
People nowadays, you know, they lack of cybersecurity awareness, hygiene, some basic stuff that if they can, first of all, if they can like create a stronger password, it will at least it will help them up to like 50% and most of the attacks from the bad actors. And second thing that they have to use, besides with the strong password, they must use like multi-factor authentication, like Google Authenticator, or they can use like security token. Those will help them. I mean, nothing will be perfect solution, but at least it will help them to avoid some basic phishing. The third thing is always updates their device or anything that they use, the software that they use on their device. must be up to date and to avoid any no vulnerabilities that existed online. And the last thing, they should always back up their data. Anything that like photos, like videos, or any files or documents, they have to back up that just in case that they got virus or ransomware attack. At least they have something to back it up. That's some things that I want to share with the audience. Thank you so much.
Well, we really appreciate you coming on with us, Hugh. Anybody who'd like to look you up on LinkedIn can do that. Do you have a website? Is there anywhere else that people would find you?
Yeah, I have a website, but it's in Vietnamese, and it's called like chongludao.vn, CHONGLUADAO.vn. And again, I want to say apologize to American people. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, thank you for that. And again, we appreciate you coming on with us, Hugh, and let's stay in touch.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate for these opportunities.
Thank you, Hugh. I'm Steve Morgan, founder of Cybersecurity Ventures and editor-in-chief at Cybercrime magazine. Joining me today was Hieu, a Vietnamese hacker and identity thief. Wikipedia states he was convicted in the United States of stealing hundreds of thousands of persons' personally identifiable information, and in 2015, when he was 25 years old, sentenced to 13 years in U.S. federal prison. Noah was released after 4 years. He calls himself a freelance cybersecurity specialist on LinkedIn. You can keep up with all of our media at cybercrimemagazine.com.